Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? This is Amanda. I hope that you're well. So today is January the 16th, and I'm recording this just a day before the full moon in Cancer. And full moons always are times of heightened emotions. Cancer, in particular, often is a sign of extreme sensitivity. So we need to very much be breathing today, grounding and aligning to the highest truth that we can find. All right. In this video, yes, I'll pull some cards for the Cancer full moon, but I actually also want to talk about some pretty important subjects. I suspect that I'm going to be talking to the converted largely, although I hope that this video also reaches the ears of people who might not have thought about things that I'm going to be saying or seeing them from this particular perspective. We are going to be referencing the case of Novak Djokovic, who's just been deported or is about to be deported from Australia on a human rights issue, to be perfectly honest. I think now the whole argument with regards to what happened to him, what he did, what he didn't do, is actually elevated to the next level now. And this isn't about missed pieces of paperwork or any of the other things that we've maybe been talking about over the last week. He actually has been booted out on the grounds that he may be somebody who can incite civil unrest or inflame the cause, I suppose, or the rights of the unvaxxed, to be some sort of figurehead for the anti-vax movement, some sort of spearhead energy, I suppose. And that was the grounds upon which the government won the legal case last night. And those are the grounds upon which he has been thrown out. So we're going to be looking at this because the ramifications of this decision is going to ripple out for many weeks, many months. And indeed, of course, what happens in one country is always reflected in other countries as well. But the spotlight is very much on Australia, and has been for the last week and will continue to be for some while. I've been talking a lot about this case on my Instagram and Facebook accounts over the last week. So we've already had a lot of the conversation. So I don't want to go over old ground, but I will say that from the outset, I always could see, and many of you could see, that this was a very multi-dimensional story. I understand that a lot of the people in Australia are up in arms because he has come in unjabbed and contravening certain rules, although the first court ruling said that he hadn't broken any rules and in fact he couldn't have done any more to try and comply, but people aren't seeing that. But over and above all of those arguments that we've heard ad nauseum and people have got very heightened about, there are other factors at play here. Number one, this was always about highlighting the issue of refugees and how they are treated in Australia. There are people who are within the hotel or detention centre, I don't know what you call it, where he was kept, that I believe have been there for years. So the spotlight is there. The spotlight is on the right to be able to say no or choose differently from what you are maybe being told to do. There is also another undercurrent at play here, which some people are aware of, but a lot of people aren't, which is I feel that this is very linked into China. And in Serbia, where Novak comes from, there have been a number of protests throughout December, I believe, national protests against a company called Rio Tinto, who are Australian and who want to come into Serbia to mine for lithium. Now, Novak hasn't up to this point been a particularly political person, but I think he was questioned about it or asked about it in an interview, and he came out and supported the protesters who were standing up against this Australian company that wanted to come in and mine lithium, and it hasn't won him any friends in Australia. If you actually think about what lithium is something that is needed. It's going to become one of the, if it isn't already, one of the most prized resources on our planet. You need lithium to make many of the technological things that we have in our life that we now rely on, whether that be in computers. Electric cars also are going to increasingly need lithium. I was just having a little look, and it was there are things, there on Google. I haven't had a great chance to research it, but they're talking about there's going to be a real shortage of this within our lifetime. But yet a lot of the plans that are coming in for things such as electric cars, obviously increasing reliance on computers, mobile phones, you need lithium. It's in batteries, basically. So whoever controls lithium wields great power. So I do think that that aspect of this is something that people are just not seeing because they're just too focused on the fact that he hasn't ticked the right box on his form. Not excusing that, and he made a very public apology about that, and also the when he didn't isolate when he maybe should have done, although he says he didn't know he had it at that point in time. I don't even really want to even get into those arguments again on this video. I actually feel as though today, Sunday the 16th, this whole catalyst, which is Novak Djokovic, whether he likes it or not, I think everything's been leading him up to this moment, is about so much more. And I think those of us with eyes to see are really being able to see it. Those who really can't see, there's this friction between the two camps. So Metatron's asked me to come on to try and say something to calm the waters a little bit, to explain the energetics that are at play here, to understand how it might be affecting us physically, talk also about the solar plexus energy at Uluru, the energy of fear, and more. Okay, so let's just get to it. I personally believe that Novak is a real freedom fighter, and I don't mean that in any political sense. The word freedom fighter doesn't maybe have the connotations for me as it might have for somebody in America or linked into maybe certain theories of our world. I'm just putting the two F's together because those of you that have followed me a while know that I'm banding words together with the same initial letter. I'm all for freedom, and I also have the energy of the warrior, and I will fight for what I believe to be very important in our world, which is the right to choose. That's what it's all about for me. So you have the right to choose yes, you also have the right to choose no. So here we've got this guy from Serbia who now is, whether he likes it or not, in the middle of all of this, just because he chose a different way to what was expected of him. I sat down today to do this video and I pulled two cards actually, and they've surprised me, and they're very, very powerful, and I'd like to, in this video, just dive a little bit deeper into both of them. The first one is from the Insight Tarot, and interestingly, the Insight Tarot is by a student of C.J. Jung, and I believe he's Russian. Stanislav Reshetnikov. Apologies for the pronunciation. But anyway, it's a good deck. And this is the card that came out. Now, this is linked into, I pulled one on the whole situation with Novak, okay? Didn't really say any more than that. I was just thinking about Novak Djokovic, the whole situation, and this is the card that I got. And the Ten of Swords is the card of complete ending, okay? Now, in a traditional tarot deck, it's very gothic. You see a man, he's lying down on his side, he's got 10 swords on his back, he's been stabbed in the back, basically, and it's just a complete ending. It's over, okay? The end of the road. And indeed, it is the end of the road for this particular part of the battle for Novak. He is going to be put onto a plane. He will be sent home. Game over. Lots of people in Australia very jubilant about that, celebrating in the streets. I can just feel the energy of it. But it's going to be very short-lived pleasure, because ultimately, over the weeks and months to come, it's going to become very apparent that this was about much more than just a game of tennis, which he was actually invited to play in the first place, okay? Also, that sense of jubilation and vindication and retribution is very much linked into people not wanting to, it's unprocessed and unhealed shadow energy within them as well, okay? It's very easy to point fingers at him or her over there that's done something wrong, and not look within yourself at something that you might have done that isn't great as well. Excuse me. Bit rusty, as I say, it's Sunday morning here. I will just say as well, I am fine, guys, but I have actually also got Omicron in the house, okay? So, and I have had it in the house for the last 4 days. So my daughter's picked it up. She's fine. Well, she's got like a heavy cold for her. I'm not saying it can't be worse for other people, but you know, she's sort of isolating in the room just over there, and I'm taking all my vitamins and everything. I'm not worried about it at all, but I'm just saying, you know, I'm on here just being of service today. Okay, I'm not wanting to get into an argument with anybody about anything. What were we saying? 10 of Swords, yeah, so game over. The jubilation, people not wanting to look within. We all have things within ourselves that we need to be healing and looking at. We all have made mistakes. If you've never made a mistake on a piece of paperwork, I very much doubt it. It's also true that some of the players, there are players at the Australian Open that are unjabbed, who have been let in on medical exemption. There is also a player at the Australian Open, one of the top players, who had COVID, I think at the end of December, was in your country December the 31st, did not obey the 14-day ruling that you have to be 14 days clear before you fly in. He's in, you know, they're in. So there's so much hypocrisy around all of this. But I've said all along that with the Novak energy, it's a witch hunt energy. And there's a lot of people picking up stones. So you might have, those of you that feel like that, might have won, you know, and he's now out of the country, but he's planted very powerful seeds that will continue to grow. And that what will grow is people starting to question the narrative. That's what it was all about. And that's why he's a catalyst energy and he's a wake-up call energy for a lot of Australia. But anyway, yeah, 10 of Swords. The reason I've kept this card up to show you is that we're on the cusp of Cancer full moon. There's the full moon with all of the swords, okay? But look at what is above it. What is above it is the sun, bright new sun. So this is saying to me that there is something that we can't see with this full moon, this Cancer full moon. And what feels like an ending is actually a completely new beginning. Now, that might be a completely new beginning for him as a person. I wouldn't put that past him, actually. I do feel after his tennis career has ended, whether that's today or whether it's in 3 years' time, 5 years' time, he's going to go on and play a much more pivotal role in our world with regards to all sorts of things, because he always has. If you actually scratch the surface of all the things that he's done and contributed to and the charities he's supported, it's extraordinary. So he's a real light on the planet. But there, yeah, we've got that duality as well, haven't we? The moon and the sun, the masculine and the feminine. So what seems like an ending probably isn't. And then the next card I pulled was from the Mary Magdalene deck, and it's this card which says Revelation. And it shows Uluru as rock. And I'm going to actually just see what the official words are to go with this particular card. I did say on a little short video I put out on social media earlier this morning that I feel as though there are going to be significant earth events to occur to help shift the energies in Australia. Really picking up the tectonic plates in particular. I know there was an underwater volcano yesterday Interestingly, the same day as this court ruling was about to happen. And I hope and pray that people haven't been hurt, in particularly in places such as Tonga, where I don't know whether the lines are back up now. I know there was a lot of people weren't able to communicate with the island yesterday, so I hope you're okay, anybody that watches me from Tonga. But equally, there were tsunami alerts that were sounded all along the western coast of Australia, I believe, parts of Australia, and also the western coast of USA and Hawaii. So, you know, whether that was a precursor to something else, I don't know, but I am feeling as though Mother Nature is going to have her say in helping to awaken Australia to its role that it needs to play going forward. Because this is the thing, whenever I've mentioned Uluru before, I've talked about the fact that I believe it's the solar plexus chakra of our world. Now, some people say it's the sacral. To be perfectly honest, whether it's the sacral or the solar plexus, it depends who you follow and who says what. It's a lower chakra anyway. It's one of the lower chakras. The thing about the solar plexus is, although it's that beautiful golden light and it's about power and wisdom, it's also, the flip side is fear. So there's an awful lot of fear that's being stored within the country. And I can't get away from the fact that I'm being shown the trail, you know, the convicts that basically came to Australia with nothing, who were exiled from, for example, the UK. They came to Australia with nothing. They had no idea what was awaiting them. They also saw many people die on the ships, even getting to the island. There is this, that's also part of the old energy that needs to be cleared. It's not just all about that. There are also other aspects as to why there is so much fear stored in Australia, which is why compliance is so strong. And I'm not just talking here about the jab, because I respect the fact that some people need to maybe have that, want to have that. I'm not disrespecting your choice. I'm talking about the lockdown of the country, really. It's been one of the most stringent lockdowns in terms of borders that the world has seen through this whole pandemic, because we've all gone through the pandemic and we've locked down our countries to a degree for various different months. But there's a big contrast being shown between how Australia has handled it and the stranglehold, the measures are very draconian there, have been, compared to other places in the world, with the exception probably of China. I mean, it's obviously a lot worse in China, but you know, it's very, very marked, very marked. And I know people in Australia sometimes get triggered when I say this, but please do look at how other countries around the world have operated and carried on living through this pandemic. And as I say, there are other countries struggling, certainly within our world, with draconian measures. But Australia is right up there in terms of one of the main countries that has imposed the most draconian measures compared to other places. It's the same virus, basically, everywhere. So that has to be looked at. And what is that all about? Ultimately, it's about control and it's about fear. So there needs to be a release of that for greater freedoms to come in. This card, though, talks about, let me just read the words to it. It says, you will soon find the answer that you seek. You're being asked to sit quietly, to bring your focus to your breath and to meditate. Pay attention to what you feel in your heart. The answer will surface from within. It talks about stress and anxiety. However, don't waste your energy trying to figure everything out logically, because this only causes confusion. Trust the loving guidance within you and know that all unfolds in perfect time. It's interesting, it's got a timing here. It says all will fall into place over the coming 2 months. So I think we've got a 2-month period here that we're being drawn to by Spirit with regard to Uluru doing something to help ease the energy in the land. And we'll have to see what that is. Okay, let's pull a few other cards. Let's go to this deck, the Insight Tarot deck. I think that one of the things I'm feeling today energetically is this great sense of frustration. It's actually frustration on both sides of the fence. Maybe it's frustration on both sides of the fence. And it's like, what do we do with that? And ultimately, you have to channel it into a more positive stream. If you allow it to sit within your body, it's very corrosive. Anger and frustration are very corrosive. So it's channeling it in a constructive way. Whether that be through sport, whether that be through writing, whether that be through standing up and speaking your truth, I don't know. But definitely this festering sense of frustration is a very damaging one. So again, you can just go out, you can stand on the ground, you can ask Mother Earth to help you transmute whatever you're feeling today. Disappointment, feeling misunderstood, anger, because again, you know, the anger that has come up over the last week as a result of one man's actions, how they've been perceived by a large portion of that country, it's like I'm now seeing this big red angry crowd. Interesting. I was about to say angry cloud, and I said angry crowd. There's both, I'm hearing. There's an angry cloud and there's an angry crowd. So the guy might have got on the plane and flown far away, you know, to his home, his family, for his own recuperation. But then you're left with the rage. And then you have to face it, because like he's gone, you've got what you wanted, but you've still got that feeling of like pent up rage. What do you do with that? You have to channel it constructively, and it has to be healed. And at this point, I want to bring in the energy of water, okay? The water element, okay? The water element. I don't know what I know Australia's a huge country. When I say I don't know what the weather's like, I'm just saying that I guess you're in your summer period, aren't you? Or you're coming up to summer, you're in spring. You must be in summer. No, you must be in summer actually, because we're still in winter. So you've got the heat. We need the cool energy. We need the cool heads to come into town as well. One of Novak's, well, it's interesting actually, the people that didn't stand up to support him is a whole other side to this story as well, because I'll talk more about the water in a minute, although it's bridge over troubled water, I'm hearing. The people that didn't stand up for him, his fellow team, not teammates, but colleagues, you know, the big guys, the people he plays with day in, day out, year in, year out, who weren't there for him. I do think that if people had been able to stand up and just say, we're not playing unless he's here, none of the court cases would even have had to have taken place. The championship would have had to have carried on. But what was interesting is the person who did actually stand up for him is the person you would probably least expect to. And it's an Australian tennis player called, I'm going to butcher his name here, Nick Kyrgious. I'm sure I've pronounced that wrong. Apologies, Nick. But anyway, I don't know what the feud was, but apparently Novak and Nick, the two ends, how interesting, the two ends, Novak and Nick had some sort of falling out, or didn't particularly like each other, I don't think, before this. But it was Nick who stands up for Novak. And Nick is an Australian, and he's been very vocal over the past week, basically sort of saying this is not okay how we are treating this man in our country, and telling people to calm down, telling people it had got all out of proportion. And he said something really good, which was something like, it's as though we're treating this one man as a weapon of massive destruction. But in a way, that's actually what he is, but not in the way people think he is. He's a one-man weapon of mass destruction in terms of dissolving old paradigms which are based on control and fear. You know, it's not like he's this one man sort of breeding machine for germs and infections and all of that. No, he's actually a weapon of destruction in terms of mind control, in terms of letting go a lot of these rigid thought patterns that we have, which is that, I mean, I'm sounding very cynical, but it's the thing about, well, governments, of course, are going to keep us safe. Of course, governments are going to have our best interest at heart. I will always do what my government tells me to do because, of course, they are noble and honest and true. Come into the UK at the moment, our Prime Minister is probably about to be given the big heave-ho because in the middle of the, I don't know if it was the first or the second lockdown that we had, it was a year ago, he's been found to be having loads of parties in Downing Street. Big parties, boozy parties, when the rest of the country was locked down, the rest of the country wasn't able to meet people or go out. We weren't even able to, there was a limit on numbers at funerals. People weren't able to say goodbye to their loved ones in hospital, etc. There's Boris and his cronies telling us what to do, but not abiding by the rules themselves. So it's this whole thing about dissolving some of these structures that government always can be trusted. And that then comes into the whole subject of deprogramming, because ultimately a new form of government needs to come into our world. And no, it's not about some sort of NWO energy that wants to take over. I'm talking about the energy of New Earth, one governance in terms of unity, in terms of us all working together. Old labels of communism, socialism, capitalism starting to dissolve so that we go back into a garden effectively. It's like a new Garden of Eden. And we start to think about what are the best concepts from these different things that we've had ruling our world for thousands of years. What would work best? Let's take a bit of that, let's take a bit of that, and come to some sort of new political era. That's what we're moving into. And because we're going to be moving into a new political era, and I'm not saying this is this year, it's not. We're talking, this is decades worth of work that we've got coming up, but there's going to be new forms of government, new types of people in government. But for that to happen, you have to then start to question the form that we have at the moment. So this distrust that a lot of us have now in politicians, on one hand, it can be a scary place because it's like, well, who do you trust? But try to see it as a window for something new to come in, okay? But definitely there is a big portion of our world that still just wants to be told what to do the whole time. And I'm talking about on anything, you have to be told what to do. It's the nanny state, basically. In New Earth, in fifth dimensional frequency and above, there is no nanny state. Because nanny state, how can, put it this way, how can nanny state be compatible with an empowered sovereign individual, which is what New Earth is? That's what we are in New Earth. We are sovereign energies. We are also individual energies. We're not just this bland, homogenized, vanilla, we're all the same. No. We're very different. We're very unique. We're sovereign in our own ways. So you can't have that and then the nanny state on the other side of the coin. So there has to be, it's going to be quite difficult to navigate, but we will do there, but we will do it, but we've got to take it a step at a time, a week at a time, a month at a time. Okay. So yeah. Anyway, but yeah, the two ends, Novak and Nick, how interesting. It was Nick that came to his defence. You see, I don't want to paint anybody as a baddie, but we have actually got a third N, I'm just realising now, which is Nadal. And Nadal, who you would have thought would have been the one who might have stood up for Novak, even if he doesn't agree with the fact he hasn't had his jab, has done a lot of trashing. I've always been a big Nadal fan, but it's like, come on. But then he plays his role, doesn't he? In Violet Pill energy, he's playing his role. He's playing his role to wake us all up. We have to have all the different players on the stage saying what they're meant to be saying, doing what they're meant to be doing. So yeah, Nadal, Nick and Novak. How interesting is that? I do feel if, Nadal goes on to win it, I think it's going to be I don't think he's not going to get the enjoyment he thinks he's going to get from it. The Nine of Wands just flew out as I said that about him. So it's almost as though, channeling a bit of Nadal now, it's as though now the main player is off the stage, the number one is no longer there, it's like there's a much more of a burden on him now to deliver, because Federer's not there. So, you know, it's... Anyway, I'm not doing a reading on Nadal. There was something else I wanted to say about that lot, though, in terms of unity and community. Can't remember, it'll come back. Right, what do we... Let's just do... Oops. I just want to pull a couple of cards for Australia, and then we'll do some wider cards for everybody else who's watching. So let's just add, shall we, to this energy of revelation and what's going on with this. What is going on with this? This was from the Magdalene Oracle, Revelation. The Three of Swords and the Nine of Cups. And the Moon. I love the depiction of the moon in this card because it's literally showing Australia in terms of, I don't know if you can see it, I don't know if my camera's picking it up, but all the figures here are showing faces of anxiety, fear and terror. And on one of them, the third eye is really pronounced. The third eye is really pronounced, but they're literally like this, okay? Mirror. I keep wanting to say America. Okay, let's bring America into it. I keep wanting to say America for Australia. It's probably the two A's, the two different sides of the world. It's like being forced to look into the mirror, and the mirror isn't particularly pretty. It's like when you've had, let's bring it down to a very personal level. So you've had something in your life, and I don't know, you've had an argument and you've really raged, you know, and you might have felt as though you were completely and utterly right, you know, completely and utterly right. And you rage against it, you have a tantrum, we've all done it, and then it's over. And then actually you sit back and you look at yourself in terms of how you've behaved, and it's like, actually that wasn't really my best moment there. That wasn't my best moment. That's sort of where we're at, okay? So we've got the mirror, the reflection, the moon, something unseen. It's also to do with Australia. It's almost like I didn't see quite how bad it was. I didn't quite see how bad the division was. I didn't quite see how bad all the vitriol was. Because, you know, if you've joined in the chorus of hate, and this one guy has had nothing but a lot of hate thrown at him for a week, it leaves a bad taste in the mouth. It really does, you know. So it's like, gosh, what have we become is what I'm hearing. What have we become? Who are we? Who are we? And with that, we've got the Nine of Cups, which is the energy of the dream. Usually it's the wish, you know, the hope. The wish, the dream. But the Three of Swords is an ending. It feels as though this is quite pronounced in terms of America. You see, I've done it again. Wanted to say Australia, I said America. It's the two A's. America and Australia both looking at themselves in the mirror. What have we become? And you can broaden this to all sorts of different subjects, okay? What have we become as a species? And of course it applies to other countries around the world, of course it does. But I'm seeing the two A's. What have we become? What were we wishing for? But there's an ending here. There's an ending. Explain that Nine of Cups card, please. Why have I got the Nine of Cups? The Eight of Wands. There's a new dream coming. It's the promise of a new dream, a new wish, a new hope. King of Cups and Justice. And the King of Swords. Two kings. There's a lot playing out at the moment. There's a lot playing out. I'm seeing those two kings actually as Biden and Scott Morrison. The two kings, justice. Australia and America. USA. Justice is coming. Justice is coming. Truth will win. Okay, right, let's move on now. I'm going to now pull a couple of cards for us for Cancer full moon. Right, excuse me. We'll also just bring in a couple of sprays at this point. Solar plexus for obvious reasons, golden citrine. If you are sensitive to these world energies like I am, you usually will feel them in your physical body as well. It's not always particularly pleasant. Solar plexus, what's coming up for the physical body? Okay, I'm hearing the world is constipated. The world is constipated. Actually, think about what I've just said there. The world is constipated. What is constipation? Constipation basically is when you can't get rid of your waste. You can't get rid of your waste. There's a toxic, sludgy build-up maybe in the system. It's like the whole world needs to go on a bit of a detox. I've been hearing the whole world is constipated for a few days now, and that's what I'm hearing again. What helps constipation, and I'm not talking here, just in terms of the physical body, it's to do with circulation, it's to do with massage. It's like the whole world needs a bit of a massage. What is a massage? A massage is when you start to move energy around. Think about somebody giving you a massage. They're moving the energy around your body. That's what they're doing, okay? They're stimulating the lymph, all of that. It's a detox. It's getting it out of the body. I feel as though the world is going to be having a bit of a massage and detox, and I'm aware what I'm saying when I say massage. I feel the massage is coming in via solar winds. It's coming from below in terms of these underwater volcanoes. As above, so below. It may very well be coming in through tornado type energy. We have already had tsunami energy yesterday. It's all the elements. It's the energy of wind, earth, fire, and water coming in to massage the earth. I'm being shown now a piece of land, like a field. And when water has been over the land and then it leaves, and it just leaves deep furrows in the land. It's like deep grooves, deep curves within the land. It's like the land is being massaged by the elements. Yeah. That came from that spray, didn't it? The golden citrine. And I'm now seeing somebody panning for gold. But again, to pan for gold, you do this, don't you? Shake it up. It's like you're sifting through. We are sifting through all of the rubble in our lives to get to the gold. Humanity is sifting through all of the crap and the rubble to get to the gold. But so too are we in our lives, in our personal lives. We're sifting through. We need to get the circulation moving in our bodies. We need to keep moving. As much as we can, we need to keep moving. This thing about the elastic band energy that I've been talking about recently. I think I need to plug my camera in. Hold on. Are we back? Yeah, the elastic band energy that I've been talking about in terms of our mind needing to be more elastic, more flexible to different thoughts and different ways of looking at the world. It's funny, actually, I got a comment in from a fundamental Christian on the last video where I was talking about the elastic band, and they hated, obviously, what I said, but equally, they picked up the thing about the elastic band. It was like, no, we don't need to have minds like elastic. We just have to look at this. It's like, whoa, okay, rigidity versus elasticity, So that's in terms of the mind, but now let's bring it down to the body. The body needs to be massaged. The body needs to be moving. Okay, so whatever you can do is going to help you. Whether that's just little movements, whether it is to, well, let's change that language, whether it's to do with moving your body just a little, I'm talking about people that might be infirm, or people that are quite fit and healthy and can go for a run down the beach. Okay, so big or small, doesn't really matter. It's just to do with moving. Oh God, I'm going to get off this subject. Okay. Golden citrine, but also I feel like the energy of the water elemental is very helpful as well. Let's bring that in. Water elemental. Oh, I love the smell of that. It's very spearminty. It's got spearmint. Lovely. To learn from water, to learn from water. Feeling the energy of Bruce Lee, who was very much about, I think he had a famous quote which was very much about be like water. We have to be like water. We have to learn how to flow. And, when water hits a stagnant pool, then it needs help to get it moving again. All right, so etc. Right, let's pull a few cards for those of you that are still watching. Full moon in Cancer. It's almost like I feel as though we're all very unprepared for this full moon in Cancer. I feel that very strongly, myself included. It's like, what? I mean, I'm a Cancerian. Normally I'd be really up for this full moon, but I'm really sort of like, oh my God, okay, I don't know, I'm just feeling something. Let's pull a tarot card before I do the Mary Magdalene. What is going on with this Cancer full moon? Show me the Cancer full moon energy, please. Why am I feeling, but I think this is not just me, it's collective. Why am I feeling unprepared? Show me the energy of this Cancer full moon. Right, the Emperor's just flown out of the deck. And that's interesting because we just had those two kings, didn't we? And now we've got the energy of the Emperor. We've also got the Ace of Pentacles that we can see there. And we've got the Five of Swords poking out of the deck as well. Five of Swords is a bit of a battleground, but Ace of Pentacles is a new offer coming in. The Emperor's very much, about law and order, talking about our own lives, everything being just so. But I don't know, I feel as though I'm hearing the cat amongst the pigeons. It feels as though this full moon is going to bring the cat amongst the pigeons. Maybe it already has with dear Novak. I think, again, catalyst energy. This is about so much more than tennis. It's about so much more than Australia. It's about so much more than one man. And again, look at the Emperor in this card. We've got all of the elements there. He's holding all of the elements in a cube. Earth, fire, water and air. They're all there. Watch the behaviour of Mother Earth, I think, over this full moon. I think it's going to be interesting to see how she behaves. But equally for us to basically get out in nature, into the elements, is going to be very healing as well. There's going to be lots of battles raging, over the next 24, 48 hours. I'm very aware also we've got the looming potential war out in Ukraine. Is it Ukraine? The build-up on the border with Russia. Let's just have a little look at that. That's an area of concern as well. Russian build-up. Yeah, new arms arriving on the Ukraine border. That was in December. Well, let's hope that nothing transpires there. Let's just pull a card for that, shall we? These readings are so macro and micro because, again, looming war, there, but it's about the looming war within ourselves, the parts of ourself that we are at war with. I don't know whether the cards are going to say anything about this, but let's just have a little look. Ukraine, the energy of the Ukraine and Russia. Six of Wands, I've got victory. I'm not quite sure what that means. We've got the card of victory. I'm hearing distraction. I'm hearing there's a distraction energy with this. It's trying to distract us from something else that's going on in our world. Anyway, I'm sending peace out to that part of the world. But equally, let's think about the war that we're fighting within ourselves and the victory that we are trying to find. There's definitely been an uptake of sort of like what I call devil energy within ourselves recently. This is, again, spirit highlighting and putting the spotlight onto addictions. Any behaviours that we're addicted to, substances that we're addicted to, patterns that we're addicted to. This is going to be, there's a spotlight being shone on that. Where are we at war with ourselves? Where are we at war with our own body, our own thoughts? It feels as though we can have victory over them, but we only via having a fresh new start and encompassing all parts of who we are, not just one. Yeah. Let's have another card from the Mary Magdalene deck. Is this Mary Magdalene? Yeah. Oh, and I've also got the Sacred Rebels. Let's pull 2 cards to end this with. So one more from Mary Magdalene, please. Yeah, look at that, the Matrix and Gaia. There's definitely something going on with Mother Earth linked into this full moon in Cancer, because ultimately Mother Earth is our home and Cancer is the sign of the home. It's highlighting our home. It's highlighting how we do things, what matrix we're tapped into with regards to this earth. The matrix is your thoughts, it's your patterns, it's your programming, it's which reality you live in. We increasingly are seeing people living in different realities, but we're all living on the same earth. Somehow we have to learn to peacefully coexist with each other. And it feels as though Gaia is going to be giving us some lessons in how to do that. And sometimes it comes via more difficult, challenging things as well. You know, people pull together in times of crisis or challenge. But equally, it can also be via good events as well. You know, people pulling together to, I don't know, help Mother Earth, help her rebirth, help her regrow. It would be a very good time to maybe, I'm picking up people that go down to the oceans, for example, and pick rubbish out of the seas. And, you know, that type of activity would be a very good thing to do now. Because again, a bit like how we need to purge ourselves and have a detox energy to get rid of this constipated energy, which is not just physical, it's emotional and spiritual. So too, we need to clean up Mother Earth as well. We need to help clean her up so we can rebirth a new matrix, a new earth. Okay, let's end with a card from Sacred Rebels, because that deck wanted to be here. 1 or 2, I'm not quite sure. Let's just see what we get. Okay. What is that card? That card shouldn't really be in this deck. It's a card from another deck. It's the card of Sacred Soul Sister. Anyway, I'm going to give a shout out to Alana Fairchild, because she was in my head as I was just thinking, what is that card? Maybe it's another one of her decks. So, and I think she's Australian. So shout out to Alana. Never met her, but I feel like she's a good soul. Right. Let's see. A message for those watching, please, for Cancer full moon to guide. Wow, okay. 2 have just shot out of the deck. Did you see that? This is my favourite card ever, probably. It's in the world, but not of the world. Be in the world, but not of the world. And then we've got be the hunter, not the hunted. Be the hunter, not the hunted, with the owl. Those are 2 very, very powerful cards. Let's just look at each one separately. Let's look at this one first. Be in the world, but not of the world. It's linked into being in your own dimensional bubble, not a bubble that is totally oblivious to anything else that's going on out there either, but just realizing that you can't change the dimensional realities that other people might be in, the timelines that they might be in, the realities that they might be feeding. You can't change that. Everybody is basically where they're meant to be at this moment in time. To have an awakening also means that you have to have people asleep in the first place. But just find comfort from your own dimensional bubble that you're in. Being in the world and not of the world is also very much about being able to see things from a much higher perspective, being able to let things play out, okay? Letting go of the control. I know it's difficult, but that is very much what this is about. It's about feeling as though we are like a fish out of water a lot of the time. We look around at maybe our fellow humanity, and we don't understand how they are behaving or how they're operating, but realizing that it's okay, they're allowed to do or be whatever they do and be. So you are still a part of humanity, even if you don't necessarily understand exactly some of the dimensions that are coexisting at the moment down here. I hope I explained that well. As I say, running on, not on full power today myself. Let's just go to the... Have I got the... I know there's quite a lot of words with these cards, but let's just see. I think there'll be some words that fall out. In the world, but not of the world. Okay, this paragraph is calling me. Likewise, you're being stripped of internal beliefs that are failing you, perhaps externally as well. Whether this seems to be your choice or not, make no mistake, it is your own spirit in cahoots with the loving spirit of life that has brought this situation about. You're being guided to trust. Yeah. There's a healing process. Imagine that you're running naked into a sea, ocean, river, or waterfall. Be cleansed. Feel it happening. Be with it and enjoy the sensation of it. Feel freed of any weight that you no longer need, be it physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual. Let go on all levels. Let go on all levels. And I'm now seeing the Cancer crab. And it's as though we've got our little shell that we can then go back into after we have had a good cleanse. There's definitely a cleansing energy coming in with this full moon in Cancer. And then we've got be the hunter, not the hunted. What do I want to say about that? We've got the energy of the owl. It's card number 8. Let's see what the message is that goes with that one. Card number 8. It says, do you feel you are at the beck and call of circumstances, situations and relationships that are outside of your control? Is your attention being called away from what you love, from your passionate focus upon your own journey and creative self-expression? Are you feeling roped into becoming a support, tonic, saviour and heal-all for others? There's a big difference between healthy supportiveness, which includes healthy self-support, and ignoring your own journey out of misplaced guilt. It says you're capable of seeing the truth, outsmarting old patterns and responding more creatively to craft new and improved relationships. You don't have to be drawn into the dramas of others or the suffering or the repetitive struggles. You can become still and intent with a willingness to see the truth. In doing so, you'll be open to being shown another way through the inner wisdom of your heart. And then there's a little affirmation that she's written here. It says, I am willing to accurately perceive the truth in whatever life situation is now helpful for my spiritual growth and creative awakening. I feel empowered to commit to myself and my path without fear or holding back. I receive this vision through unconditional love. So be it. Thank you for those words, Alana. I think they're very beautiful and very helpful. So I'm going to leave it there because I want to get this up because it feels like it's needed today. I hope that it's helped you. Let's remember to be kind to each other, take time for each other, respect each other's opinions, realise that people might be at different places of their soul growth than you. There is no right or wrong, but let's also be strong champions for freedom, for choice, and for each other ultimately. Much love, take care of yourselves, be back soon. Bye-bye for now, bye.